Bunny Man.
And I'm Crazy Susie.
And this is the third time recording this. I'm a little annoyed right now.
It happens. This is number 5 of our 13 days of October.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror.
And this is...
And that is Luna.
We're doing the houses October built.
Yes, we have done, Boo, Murder Party, Satan's Little Helper, and then Gravy. And then now this one. And all those can be found on our iTunes and on our YouTube. And I'm going to reiterate this again. Our iTunes only shows the 10 most recent videos. We haven't paid for the upgrade because we don't have the money for it right now. So if you want to catch previous ones, head on over to our YouTube. And that's the way you can catch up on our 13 nights. Or 13 movies, reviews. I'm trying to... Well, we don't need, but that's only... So that means 3 movies are not going to be there. Let's begin again.
Yes. So I will have to start all over again. So the movie The Houses October Built is not rated. It is 1 hour and 31 minutes long. It was made in 2014. It is a horror thriller. IMDb gives it a 5.1 out of 10, and we watched this movie on Netflix. The director is Bobby Rowe. The writers are Zach Andrews and Bobby Rowe. The cast is very easy to remember who is who because the cast names and the names they go by in the film are the same. Brandy Schaefer, her character's name is Brandy. Zach Andrews is Zach. Bobby Rowe is Bobby. Mikey Rowe is Mikey. Jeff Larson is Jeff. Natasha Johnson is Natasha. And Joseph is Joe. This film was awarded some awards. It gets the Best Feature-Length Film from Midnight Extreme category from the Sights Film Festival of 2014.
Alright. The best actress is Brandy Schaefer. Best featured poster, best screenplay, Bobby Rowe. Zach Andrews, Jason Zoda from the Macabre Fair Film Festival 2015.
Basically, the synopsis is 5 friends hit the road to find the best gimmicky Halloween haunted house, but soon a terrifying real evil begins to hound their steps.
Yes. Mind you, that was found on Netflix. So,
yes,
gimmicky.
We all love Netflix synopsis.
Okay.
They're very vague.
And if you can tell, this is one of Crazy Susie's least favorite films of our lineup. The next 2 nights, she's going to be very irritated at me. So.
Yes, I loved R.L. Stine when I was 7.
And you hate mockumentaries.
Yes, this is a mockumentary. I like documentaries when they're not in a movie. I like them to be separated. So, I'm dealing. The movie begins with a quote. I like movies that begin with quotes, so I give this one a little bit more credit, and it's got haunted houses in it, so it gets a little bit more credit, but it still irritates me. But anyway.
Alright, I'll read the quote. I'm not afraid of werewolves or vampires or haunted houses. I'm afraid of what real human beings do to other real human beings. Walter John Williams.
Okay, so the movie starts with a commercial about a haunted house in Camden Park. People talk about the myths of haunted houses, and then a girl gets put in a trunk. You find out that girl is actually Brandy later on, because at this point, you've not been introduced to any of the characters. And then it says 6 days earlier, and it cuts to a scene where you start getting introduced to the other characters, and Zach has rented an RV, so the 4 of them can travel cross country checking out haunted houses. And now they are all at a bar. Okay, and now it cuts to like a commercial of a guy talking about what he looks for in a performer when he hires someone for his haunted house. And then he was asked a question if he does background checks. And he said, well, currently we don't, but that's something we want to branch out to doing in the future.
Okay, so like background checks are sort of expensive because I feel like the documentary part was filmed earlier in the early 2000s when the internet was relatively new. So at that time you had to pay for a service or call or whatever, fax.
Right. It was a little bit different then. I think now you can pay a flat monthly fee in order to do like an unlimited amount of background checks. So it's a little bit different now than it was then. Then it was a little bit more complicated to do background checks than it is now.
And then also, like, you had to hire somebody to do that. I mean, if you're a small owner, I'm just saying, like, if you're...
You don't know.
No, but I'm just saying, like, back then you would have to have somebody do it. But, okay, so the big thing about in the bar scene, to me, was that this is the beginning of the trip, so they're all, like, full of piss and vinegar at this point. Mm-hmm. You know, they're
all, you know...
chest beaters.
The guys have their chest all puffed out and be like, yeah!
Yeah, like, we're not...
It's gonna be awesome.
We're not wussies, we're not, we're gonna take on the world.
Yeah. They're all wanting to find, like, the most epic haunted house. Like,
well, not epic, but, like, the most extreme. Like, the one that will beat the crap out of you and just leave you broken. I mean, that's sort of what they're looking for.
Yeah, they're thinking, nothing's going to scare me. We want to find the craziest haunted house there is, and they're on this mission to find it.
By any means necessary.
Right. So everybody jumps back in the RV, and they head off to the next location. They stop for directions in this rinky-dink gas station. They have a shot of liquor on the way. That's kind of their new tradition. Every time they get close to their next haunted house, they have a shot of liquor together. They find a place to park and head inside. Brandy is one with the jump scares at this haunted house, and every time somebody breathes sideways, she's jumping. I've never seen one person jump.
Oh, I have.
But so many times.
To me, it's...
And the guys find it hilarious. Mikey, they're walking in, and Mikey's behind Brandy. They let Brandy go ahead in the first in line. They did it intentionally. They were like, watch this. Brandy's in the front of the line. Mikey's behind her. One of the guys in the haunted house was kind of tucked behind the front door. Mikey saw him, and he scoots and gets in right behind Mikey, and Mikey's got a big old grin on his face, and he's holding the camera. And Mikey's just walking along until Brandy turns around and sees that performer and starts screaming bloody murder. And Mikey's laughing. She is so irritated that Mikey let that guy get up behind her, because she expected to turn around and see Mikey there so she could grab a hold of him, I guess, and he wasn't there. There was some stranger she didn't know there. Scared the crap out of her. Mikey thought it was funny.
Yeah. I mean, but that type of, like...
So after the walkthrough of the haunted house, they talk to some of the workers, and Mikey decides it's a really good idea to climb on top of the building to get a better view of, the layout of everything. Well, some of the workers get really upset about that. So he climbs down really fast and they run for the RV. And they manage to leave. As they're leaving, they see one of the clowns that work at the haunted house. That night, they hear a noise. So Mikey goes outside to investigate. And it was one of his friends in a mask. And he jumped out and scared him. Scared him good. The next day, they were back on the road, headed to the next location, and they pulled over, had a drink before they got there, and for some reason, they decided it would be a good idea to pull over by the woods and build a fire and just relax. It started getting dark, and they're just sitting out there by the fire, just talking and relaxing, and this guy walks out from the woods. And he casually asked, so how are you guys enjoying my fire? I thought that was kind of weird.
Well, yeah, because, all you see is that they drive up in the RV, there's smoke coming from a dead fire. They're like, somebody was here not that long ago. And then, so they, instead of going down the road, they rebuilt the fire. And they're just chilling and drinking and, doing, just chilling, I guess, and this guy just pops out of nowhere, and he's just like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he was a big old creepy guy too. I mean,
He was a big dude, painted face. He just walked out of the woods. Would have gave me a heart attack.
But I mean, like, my thing is like, so did he know that they were coming, so he hid, or there's like little things that I started questioning.
Well, he said he worked at the haunted house up the road and lives in the woods. Well, they end up going to the zombie paintball place, which is this place where the workers dress up like zombies and try to come after you, and you fend them off with paintballs. It's interesting.
It's really big on like the East Coast.
So they go back to the woods where they were and see the girl that was in the previous haunted house, who was dressed up like a porcelain doll, still in costume. But that haunted house was 100 miles away from where they are now.
So when they first met her, she was in a haunted house, and it was just, she was even creepy then. She just came at them really odd-like, and sort of like, it's hard to explain it, but, and then, so here she is in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of the woods.
Yeah, on a dirt road. Mm-hmm. In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Dressed up like a porcelain doll.
Holding a teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do in that situation? Choice A, drive on. Or choice B, stop, say hello, and would you like to come in for a hot cup of coffee?
Sure. So, they let her bring her in the RV, and they start asking her a bunch of questions. Well, at this point, she just starts screaming.
So when she started screaming, you see that the camera flickers. Like it's supposed to be some supernatural thing going on. I don't understand like why they've had the camera flicker at that point. Because I don't know if they're trying to say that she's supernatural or something. I don't know either. But it was just, yeah. This is how you die in most other movies, So, I don't. Yeah, if I see a chick dressed up as a porcelain doll on a dirt road and in the middle of nowhere, I'm not stopping anytime soon.
Take pictures and drive on.
Yep.
Well, she gets out of the RV and she leaves. So they sleep, and then they leave the next day and continue on their route.
I mean, at this point, they are now badgering people in these haunts about...
Where's the best haunt at? We want it. We want a haunt that nobody has. We want a haunt that, tests your limits. We want the best haunt ever. Where is it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? They make it to the next location, which they call it a crap hole. Something that high school students put together.
Yeah, it's just your little rinky-dink, probably first or second year haunted house.
So they get there, they finally get the RV parked, everybody gets out, and everybody kind of scatters, and they're walking around, and some crazy looking person comes out of the woods in a bunny suit that's covered in blood.
Okay, no, he was, Zach was saying, I have to go to the bathroom, or he came back from the bathroom, right?
Okay.
And they're like, why didn't you go? He's like, I really have to pee. And I'm like, why didn't you go to the bathroom? And he was like, well, the line was really long. And they're like, we're in the woods. Go piss in the woods. Now, I have gone to haunted attractions, and I've had to go where there are no porta-johns close by, and no one's looking. And you go to the closest wood line you can find. That does not mean, let's go explore the wood line. Go into the woods. It's just... make yourself less noticeable and take a leak. Not go deep inside the woods and hope that you can find your way out again.
Right.
This guy goes deep in the woods, So, because, and also security, if they catch you doing that, like if you go too far, they would think that you're trying to trespass into their haunted house.
Yeah. So... the bunny was yielding an axe and chased Zach. They go through the haunted house,
Well,
It was so everybody goes through the haunted house. It was a 2-story house.
No, I mean, I thought the bunny was funny because he was like chasing him and he was like coming out with him next. And then he stops as he falls down and does sort of like a bunny hop and then just like goes off somewhere. Like he's just like, well, my job's done here. You know, I scared the piss out of you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. You know.
Whoop.
Goodbye. Yeah. So I thought that was sort of like I like that sort of like sense of humor, but also at this point you're through the movie, you're starting to see the groups like browbeating to be more freakish because they're seeing the same set of scare creatures. I guess you could best put them. You know, the porcelain doll, the one clown. They're very distinctive over and over and over again as they go through different houses, and they're also starting to piss off the haunted house owners by videotaping and asking the staff where they can find this or that or whatever.
So this haunted house had a ton of jump scares, so they completed it. Now it's a 2-day... It's 2 days till Halloween. A TV clip shows that there was a haunted house where a kid had a hanging part in the house and replaced the breakaway noose with a real one and actually hung himself and died.
So
he was dead in the haunted house for hours before anyone realized it.
So if you're a scare actor and you think you're going to be cool and groovy and take the breakaway noose and replace it with a real one, unless you're trying to kill yourself, don't. I mean, moral of the story.
Yeah, that's horrible that happened. But.
Yeah.
So, they go to a... There's really no other better way to say this, but they go to a titty bar. And the girls are wearing Halloween masks.
It's like they're like zombie masks. So it's like, I don't know how I feel about this.
It's pretty funny. They're wearing like
Freddy Krueger masks.
creepy masks.
Yes.
Like, you know, like really creepy masks. One chick has her face painted, but most of them are wearing like really creepy masks and, you know, doing the typical titty girl thing.
Well, I think the best way to describe it is confused boner time.
It's very confusing. Yeah. Yeah. So, they go from there and they go on to the next location. Mikey talks to one of the performers. He brings her back to the RV and he's hanging out with her. And he's talking to her. And he tells her, you know, that they're on the search for an awesome place. And he finds out that there's a really awesome place called the Blue Skeleton.
Yes, but prior to that, he really pissed somebody off because here he is alone, and he's being really creepy too with her, like really creepy.
Yeah, like I don't even think she realizes
Rapey.
how creepy he's being.
I
She's
don't
being
know.
too nice, and he's being really like.
I think
We're
that
alone,
I
it's
think
creepy.
the term would be almost rapey.
Yeah.
He's asking her like to contort for him, if he could touch her face because she has the makeup on. You know, he's commenting on how nice her thong was.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't do that. But
They're not even on a first name basis yet, and he's asking her all this stuff.
and then so outside his friends are trying to stop this other guy who they think is the owner or some guy, and he's like, I know what you did, you're videotaping in my haunt, you're doing this, and you know, and so yeah, they haunted owners do not like you filming in their haunt. They just, you know,
Right.
so
They have secrets that they don't want people to know.
well, the whole point is to get people in to their haunt. So if you can watch it on YouTube, what's the point?
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, he finds out about the blue skeleton and they're told that it's in Louisiana. And there's a clown that stops them because they're not supposed to be recording. So they leave. Everyone is asleep, and someone is walking through the RV and recording them and looking at their IDs while they're asleep. Another clip of the evil witch saying everyone does whatever it takes to get the reaction in a haunted house.
Yeah, so the documentary part of this is now starting to go deeper into this is what we need to do to get people to get scared. You know, they're talking about how it used to be scares were relatively easy to come by for the most part. And then now it's harder and harder, and they're showing clips of like a young bro type to like walking up to a guy who tried to jump out at him, and he like made eye contact with him. You know, had his chest all puffed out, and he's like, "You don't scare me," you know. And that's what they're saying. It's like it's harder and harder to get scares, and it is. But so yeah, they're being recorded while they sleep.
Yeah. So they get up the next morning, and Mikey opens the fridge and finds some kind of big and bloody body part in the fridge. So Mikey starts vomiting in the sink.
Okay, so he's a big old like if you take from like the first scene to this scene, he's like, oh, like I'm a manly man.
He's a big dude with a beard, and he thinks he's a big, you know,
big lumberjack. Like nothing's gonna scare me. He gets scared by, I'm thinking, a beef heart.
It wasn't a heart.
But I mean, whatever it was, I mean, I'll be like, okay, number one, who put this in my fridge? And I don't think it would freak me out because I've been around, you know, like I've been around that type of stuff. But they were going through like the video recording of them getting their IDs, and then now this, and they're like blaming each other for who did it, who did this, and I was like.
Okay, the video of them sleeping was posted on a haunted house forum website, and Mikey's ID was missing. They are told to go to this bar and ask for Giggles. So that is what they do.
Well, before...
And of course, they are filming. People don't like to be filmed. So a person in a very deranged clown costume comes over, and they question if he is Giggles. Really? But he will not talk with the camera. So they leave it at the bar. Brandy is in the bathroom. The bartender and a couple of guys pick up the camera and go in the bathroom to make a movie with Brandy.
Here we get into another rapey scene.
Yeah.
But in the bar, I mean, like the bar is not just normal people. Normal people. It's just a bunch of people who work at a local haunt or whatever, and then this is their bar. But Giggles, I think, is one of my favorite characters, just because he comes over there and the way he's dancing.
So they get out of that situation. Now they're back in the RV. They're parked again. Giggles was creepy. Giggles started coming over there with this little dance, and he was giggling, so I assumed that was Giggles because that was a creepy giggle, let me tell you. But they get out of that situation. They're back in the RV. They're parked. Now someone again is beating on the RV, climbing on top of the roof, making all this racket. The power goes off and comes back on. They turn the lights on, the headlights, to see what's going on, and there's a huge crowd of performers. They're all dressed up. From the original haunted house they went to, the very first one, the lights went out again, then they come back on, and they were all gone. In the morning, there was loud banging. Zach goes outside. There's a pumpkin with a tag saying, "Carve me." He opens it up, and there is an invitation inside to the blue skeleton. On the windshield of the RV was 5 blue skeleton masks. They were freaked by the idea of that. People were lurking outside while they were asleep.
Well, it really was an invitation to like come to this building at this time. The admission is $15. No, it's more of a.
No.
It was come to Bourbon Street, wear these masks, and we'll go from there. So.
Yep. So they go to the haunted house. They're in the town square, and everyone is dressed up. They're looking for anyone with the blue skull masks.
And these are like your typical, like, almost like a neon blue. You can find them at Walmart. They're pretty cheap, but they're pretty creepy too at the same time. So
Jeff went down an alley thinking he was following Bobby, and got ambushed by the doll girl and the clown and the bunny. They pulled out and cut out his tongue. The others get in the RV and go to the haunted house because Zach got a voicemail from Jeff about the haunted house and where to go.
So here's another life lesson. If you see a guy like motioning you to come down a dark alley in the middle of New Orleans or anywhere in the matter of the world, don't.
They're en route and a bus pulls up behind them. When they stop, it does. A guy steps out with a skull mask on. They start getting text messages.
Yeah, they're coming right, and they're like, it was counting down.
If you don't get out in 30 seconds, your friend will die. And then the countdown begins. When the countdown is over, they come and get them. They bind their hands and put a black covering over their head. They get on the bus and continue on their way. When they get there, they get them out one by one at a different location. Brandy's hands are unbound and she is told to record everything she sees. And remember, they are watching. She gets out of the bus with the recorder and walks through the haunted house with the recorder. The guys are given the same instructions, but are untied at different times and locations. They are freaking out because the house is mostly dark. If the lights do come on, they go back off. Nick is given a glow stick. Mikey is in a silent room with a two-way mirror, and Bobby can see him. So they both freak out. One of them is hiding in a corner, and one of the workers is hiding in a corner, and Bobby shines his flashlight on him. He laughs and asks Bobby if Bobby is having fun. Brandy is put into a trunk, taken out into the woods and put into a coffin, along with Mikey, with a camera inside to record their reactions. Zach and Bobby also get their own coffin. Each coffin is lovingly covered in dirt in a shallow grave. You can hear Brandy scream through the casket and the dirt. The movie ends with a clip of a documentary asking why you like to perform in haunted houses. The guy says, because I don't have to be myself. I get to be someone else and take my pent up aggression out on other people.
Yes. So, I think this was actually one of our shorter ones. When I edit it all down, it'll be one of the shorter ones that we've done.
Well, it wasn't a very long movie.
It wasn't a long movie, and you didn't care for it. And I think after our first one is when we get into comedy mode. By the third one, we're just ready to get it done. And Luna was cranky.
Well, I can't help that.
No.
And I can't help that you didn't make sure that the mic and everything was set correctly before we started. That should have been something you checked before we started.
Well,
that's your area. This is my area. I did my area.
Yeah, well, I screwed up, okay?
I didn't do it as thoroughly as I could have, evidently, because I stammered a little bit, but, you know.
Alright, so there are real extreme haunts out there. There's one in California. I think he has, last time I knew, it was a 3-year waiting list. It's probably to 10 now.
And they make you sign a lot of waivers.
And no one's actually completed the the extreme haunt. I don't know how I feel about extreme haunts, to be honest, because I feel like every video I've seen of the extreme haunt wasn't really scary to me. It was just more physical abuse.
Right, it's demeaning, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're pouring stuff, they're shaving off your hair, it's not like scary, it's like, how many hits can we get out of you? It's torture. It's just torture.
I don't think being bald is scary. I've shaved my own head bald.
No, but what I'm just saying, but what I'm saying, that type of extreme house is not scary to me. It's just trauma. That's all it is. It's how much trauma can we do before you give up. And I think what makes a haunted house, in my opinion, and I think we went into this when we did our terror talk about haunted houses, is not like, the great thing about that house at the end to me was not just the separation, but it was the atmosphere. People aren't jumping out at you. It's the silence. It's your own thoughts. The unexpected noise. Everything's there. It's just you don't know what's. Like the recorder played or not. There was a record player, but it wasn't playing when they got in there. But it turned on. The creepy thing was people showed up and then disappeared. It's just, you see repetions, but it wasn't like how you go through a normal haunted house and people are jumping out at you trying to scare you. So
the mind is a powerful tool, and they use that against people. They allow their mind to jump to its own conclusions.
Yeah, but me getting, people getting hit and dragged and all that, to me, that's not scary. That's abuse.
Yeah.
So what's your final rating on this?
It wasn't great. I don't know.
Wasn't it like a 2 or something like that?
No, I rated it higher than a 2 because I did enjoy some of the features of it, but I would like more of it than I don't. 3.5.
Okay. I give it a 4 because what I like about it is because as you watch it and you.
See, I figured you would give it a higher score than I did, but you act like I was gonna rate it like a 1 or something.
I know how much you hate mockumentaries, but this is to me this is one of the better ones because it's not all mockumentary. It's not all.
Well, no, I don't like mockumentaries, but I still value the content that's there.
But my thing is what I like about it is that the documentary stuff plays to me because if you watch it again or whatever, you start noticing that the times when everybody's starting to go a little bit crazier, when things are starting to go off the rails, that's when the documentary clips are starting to pick up. They're starting to. It goes from tame to this is what we have to do. This is that type of stuff, and then on top of that, it's just. And I like seeing the repetition. The stuff being repeated, like the same 3 or 4 characters.
Repetition is not a word.
The same 3 or 4 characters.
Sigh about it all you want, it's not a word.
But the same 3 or 4 characters over and over again. And then I even like that it left on a cliffhanger because I know there's now a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's a second one.
So, but it leaves like that. Are they going to get out of the?
Well, it was a shallow grave.
Yeah, but still, any grave is hard to get out of, from what I understand. It's the MythBusters did a thing before they quit, where they actually got buried alive, and he was saying it turned out to be horrible. So I wasn't glad that the full 6 feet under, because I guess modern coffins without the vaults collapse in on themselves
from the weight of the
dirt. But from what he was saying, it was not just the isolation. To him, the creepiest thing was the sound of the dirt hitting the casket. And the impending, your mind is filling in that blank that you're never going to get out because here's all this weight of this dirt on top of you. So no matter how shallow you are, from our perspective, yeah, it's shallow. From their perspective, they might as well be 100 feet down, so, and you got to break out of the coffin and dig your way up and so.
Well, they are in a wood box.
Yeah. So it's just, again, it's a psychological aspect that entire thing was all about. That whole situation was all about, So here's my question: do you think, like, especially when the Ols showed up, that they purposely did, or do you think it was like a group hallucination?
I don't see how an entire group can hallucinate the same thing.
Well, they all had, let's say, the same experiences and all that stuff. I mean, if you look at demons, like groupthink and demons and stuff.
I think there's no way an entire group can hallucinate these same exact experiences.
I know, but I mean, I don't know. It was hard for me to imagine that everybody from the first haunt showed up and disappeared in like 5 seconds into the woods without hearing anything.
I don't know. It's a movie.
I know. But it's one of the more realistic ones, in my opinion. Alright. So, that's the end of this one. So, we'll scare you later.
Yep. Bye.